Welcome to Nothing But Net, Coach Aaron Roussell, the head coach at Richmond. Coach, you and I both like offense. We met based on offensive terms. I think we kind of like ran into each other like an offensive charge, right? And it was a long time ago when you were a D2 coach, and I've watched and followed your career for a long time. You've been fantastic, and you've got a heck of a winning team at Richmond. Tell us a little bit about how the season's going so far.
Well, I think we're on a was didn't realize this, but on a 15-game winning streak. Won last night against Davidson, so finished the conference season undefeated at home, which is always a goal for us. I think it's the second year in a row that we've done that. Just a fun team. You're going to see this here, and some of this is, all five of our starters are I say homegrown kids that have been in our high school recruits that have been in our system. That probably gives us a little bit of a bump. Some of the incoming kids, the transfers that we have are grads, so they're a little bit older and understand the system. So it's been a fun group to coach, but also just a fun group to try new things. You and I have talked about offense a lot, and just trying new things with smart kids has been very enjoyable for me from an X's and O's standpoint.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to be smarter and how I deliver the vernacular I use on the air, how I explain or teach something on the air, and being around people like you makes me better, which helps our game. And that's what we're all about, is trying to help our game. So we're both servants to the game. Your team plays like servants to the game. And what I mean by that is a lot of the detail isn't on the stat sheet. We can look at your numbers and see most of the season you've been top 10 in scoring, assists, 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage. I mean, it's a very well put together scheme and system. And I want to thank you in advance for sharing some of it with us.
Yeah, no, you got it. You got it. This is definitely a passion of mine. And we've talked before. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people get into this and it's defense, 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 right? And
Right.
when you don't know a lot of things, it's just be tougher, be tougher, be tougher. And those things are fun. But, I remember talking with you and I think Doug Bruno back in the day. It's like at some point there's an entertainment value that we have an obligation to do as well. And I think the more you get into offense, the more, people want to see that. But the more you get into offense, I think there is the whole defense wins championship sounds great. I don't know how accurate that always is.
Well, defense and rebounding, yes, they are an principal part of what we do. But with where our game is, for a place where it is right now, where I know we both, a lot of us have spent our whole careers hoping the game would get to this point, pushing it to this way. And for decades, I've been talking about offense, and you've been kind enough, to share, shoot till your arm falls off, ticket selling player, the 3 W's of a good point guard, all the things that you represent. I could throw those hashtags on all of your offensive systems. So let's break it down a little. You show us some film. This is going to be fun.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, kind of putting these together. First off, AJ Wall, our video guy, is outstanding. He got this put together really quick, and we just started talking about this a few days ago. So kudos to him. We kind of decided to do this more chronologically throughout the season. Some of this is nuanced. Some of this is building on things that we did earlier in the season. But getting started here, this was, here against Texas, obviously a very good team. This is a little bit more of a Princeton type set. Normally we wouldn't do this out of a sideline, out of bounds, low clock. This was a little bit seeing the matchup that we had. I mean, Kyle Oldacres, he's a very, very good player, but felt like we had a matchup here that we could get our shooting bigs away from the basket. So a little bit of a Princeton type thing. And, this was called, we were trying to curl this and turn this into a screen and get a 3-point shot for one of our shooters. Go figure, we didn't score against Texas. A lot of people have not scored against Texas this year. Vic's doing a tremendous job, but
yes,
just things to get our shooting bigs away from the basket. Again, we don't do a lot of set type stuff, but you see just, I guess a lot of people calling this a horns type thing. We started setting a lot of flare screens a couple years ago. So again, here with this, trying to get some matchups, but just setting flare screens for shooters setting flare screens for shooters. Rachel Olstrom, I think you had on a podcast here recently. She made 11 threes in a game earlier this season. You can do a lot of things with shooters, right? And so yes, this is just finding shooters out there.
Why did you decide to go to flare screen action? Was it because you had more shooters and you could space the floor with your bigs? You said shooters setting screens for shooters. That includes your 5-player, right?
Yeah, again, we don't even use the numbers, Abby, but 4s and 5s with Addie Budnick, with Maggie Dugan. Even the kids coming off the bench with Anna Camden. I mean, they're good screeners, but also, and part of that too is knowing that a lot of teams are going to switch those. So part of this is opening up the post and trying to get some cutting. A lot of this is cuts.
Yeah.
But when you get those and you can get flare screens into switches, we like that as well. This is something not always trying to target matchups, but when you get switches out there with the skilled kids that we have, some of those flare screens are always going to turn into switches as well, which we do like. But this is early in conference season, and if I'm not mistaken, I think this is just playing. So some of the stuff that you saw in the Texas game with Addie coming to go screen for a point guard, but now it's, hey, we like the post up matchup, and Addie's just gotten so good at being patient with that and just finding shooters here. So this cut from Maggie, we'll get that a lot in the post or from the post or getting cutters here, but sometimes that cut just opens up your shooter out there.
Yeah. So you go single side or naked side 2-man game, and then you cut from the weak side off the dot. You dive right there, right? So that you can, if you get double teamed, you got that. If not, somebody's got to tag that dive, right?
Boom, you got it. I mean, you can get shooters on that backside and passers that can pass out of that. That's so here. This is late game. If I remember this one right, I think we were kind of debating whether to take a timeout or don't take a timeout. When you have older kids, you can call a set action. And to be honest with you, I think Mason blows this one up. We're not able to get into what we want. You see the score there, Debbie, 84-84. This was one of the best college basketball games that I've been a part of. A lot of offense between us and Mason. This was actually during the Richmond water crisis. So an entertaining game as it was, there was no fans allowed in the stands. There was no running water. I remember going in this game I literally did this as head coaching duties. Went through, started flushing all the toilets in there because there's plumbing issues, all of this stuff. Trying to get fans in there, trying to let them allow fans, and it just wasn't in the cards. But a great college basketball game with us and Mason. Playing through this, I think we're trying to get a handoff here for Addie, and then get a flare screen from Rachel coming over here from Maggie. It just didn't work, but just trusting our kids to play. So the handoff gets blown up. This one, and like the matchup. This is a really good defensive player, but liked our matchup with here and didn't want to call a timeout and change that. And this is just making plays, right? This is just Rachel and Maggie playing together, been roommates for 3 years. They play off each other incredibly well. Just a little simple give and go. That one's been going on in basketball for many, many years, but just a simple give and go with that one.
Aaron, is it the rep and the continuity and the chemistry is the reason why? Plus, situations that you don't call timeout.
Yes, for that part, yeah, and that's trust there. I think as we later in that game, we still had a lot of timeouts to spare, so we were using those late. But I think we still ended that game with 2 timeouts, and that was just if we were to show the last clip of that game, Maggie Dugan scores with I think 2 seconds left. She looked at me, and it was one of those like I told her going out there, if I like the matchup, you're going to play, and if not, I'll call the timeout. And so there was some confusion, and we've joked about this since. I think she said in the post-game press conference, she's like, I remember looking at Coach expecting him to take the timeout. And when he didn't, I just went, and that was a lot of trust and a really, really smart player, a really good player that's been in your system for 3 years. Here, we played Davidson last night. This is from the first Davidson game. But this is a little bit of an action here, but this is just us playing. We've done a lot more with kind of gets and handoffs this year. This is putting the ball in Maggie Dugan's hand in the high post and making plays. This part here. Again, we ran this play against them last night and got it in a different way. This is not even an action that we talked about. Since then, I think we've made this a part of it, but this is just Maggie going to find Rachel. That I wish I could take credit for this. It's a byproduct of something that we've put in, but it's just these guys playing and Rachel coming off the screen and the lights out shooter getting a shot. So this is sometimes, Debbie, you're just letting your players play.
I mean, you can't overcoach it, right? If you find something that works, you put the concepts in, they understand the concepts, and it's in some ways unguardable, unpredictable. And if you let them play because they can make plays, you don't give the other team a chance to change their D, right? Or change their matchup.
Absolutely. And I think, we as coaches get blamed for a lot of things. I try not to take credit when it's not deserved. But sometimes these guys make you look good too. Sometimes you get credit for some offensive things that, it was just them playing.
It's all this right here. You can make shots, man. If you can make shots.
You can make shots. And again, some of our practices are, we have action. I mean, again, I could tell you that our playbook is tiny. I could tell you that our playbook is massive, depending on which way you want to look at it. We have simple actions. And when you stack those on top of each other,
Yeah.
some of these 25-second possessions look like, like you're a mastermind because you're constructing all this. It's just stacking actions on top of each other. And, some of these clips, I think a little bit longer, are just that, but I think when you can shoot and you can cut, and I think that's really the basis of our offense is being able to shoot it, but being smart enough to cut.
I think the women's game in college basketball, quite frankly, in general, is going to more like 70% cuts, 30% screens. It seems to me like it's more a late clock screen, maybe an early action and transition for a screen, and then late clock screen, and the rest is cutting.
The rest is cutting. And again, even when we weren't doing this 5 out or whatever motion stuff that we were doing, I mean, every time that we were teaching offense, it was teaching cuts, how to cut. And that's secretly one of probably the best things about our team right now. You can see, I think we were at one point we were leading the country in 2-point shooting percentage and 3-point shooting percentage. I think we're near the top, if not still there.
That was just a few weeks ago, actually, because it was the last time I think when I talked to Rachel.
Yeah, and then we say these things out loud, and then we jinx it, and had a couple games where maybe we lost that pedestal. But I think the secret thing, there's sometimes no way to measure how good of a cutting team there's no stat for that. But again, I mentioned AJ earlier. We do a lot of things statting outside the traditional box score with screen assist. We have cut assist now that.
I love a cut assist and a screen assist. I love that.
Yeah, because sometimes people look at our team and Grace Townsend last year was a great break down the defense player for us.
Yes,
we still have some of those, but sometimes it's just not off the dribble. But I've often said if you can make a cut and draw two with the cut, what's the difference? You're trying to draw two players right there. So if you're a great cutter, you are creating stuff. You're a great creator in our system with that. So this is, again, another one we're just playing, and you see some ball screen actions, but this is just, I think we're trying to slip a screen expecting a switch, but we just play, and sometimes this is, boom, just a cut. Hey, Rachel's a great shooter, but she's also a great cutter, as we've talked about with that. Getting into Rhode Island here, again, this is just transition, right? So we're just trying to play, Addie and Maggie are really good at the top right there of just making plays. And again, you've got dribble handoffs with shooters. Rachel knows if they're going underneath, we're shooting that, go over the top. We have some different options. This one, she just wraps, gets to the basket. And really, this is just kind of playing off of this kid. If she's going to come help on this cutter, maybe we can get a shooter over here.
Yeah.
Anna Camden, who I picture someday working for you on ESPN broadcast. She's going to be a tremendous sideline reporter. But she's, also a great shooter, coming off ACL injury and playing at Penn State. But this is also Faith, right? This is another one of our new kids that hasn't been in our system for long, but this is just a slight little nuance.
We know Anna. We had Anna on our podcast last year or the year before. We know Anna.
Yeah. So, but you see also just the nuance of trying to pick on this kid with Rachel's cut, but also just the extra screen that Faith, our point guard, sets for our five. This is our one screen, our one setting of a flare screen for a shooter out there.
When does she know to set that screen, or when does she know to cut all the way through? Because the previous that you showed us, she was the cutter, or that slot position cut.
Yeah, they have that option.
Okay.
So the smart ass answer would be, I don't know, maybe 2 months into our system when she realizes that really works, or that she has that option, and I think that's just us, hey, sometimes it's me, we're running stuff, but I'm just under my breath telling, hey, go find a Burns, go find a flare screen, right? Go find a ball screen. Hey, if number one's guarding over there, go set a ball screen so they can switch and we can get that. That I got to give credit to Faith. That's just Faith playing out of that. Based on out of bounds here, I think we're starting to set a flex, and this is just Addie coming off the flex screen and saying, hey, I want to come play at the high post, and we talked about Rachel being a great cutter. This is an action we got a lot early in the season. I think she had 30-some points against Temple the first game of the season.
There's no way I'm going to be in the gap if I've got that shooter in the corner.
Exactly. So there's that part of it, and then there's the you got to go over the top with it, and it's hard to help over here, right? You got shooters over here, and Rachel knows, yes, we have options, but it's just a simple wrap around to the basket.
Yeah, love it.
And you got it. Um, this is a little bit more of a set. You see some kind of old Princeton stuff with it. Becky Hammond was doing a lot of this stuff with the Aces. So yeah, we stole some of this. I think this one originally happened organically. That then we kind of copied it here, but just trying to get Dugan off a back screen for a post up. And sometimes it works really well. You'll see a lot of people switching this when we're setting back screens for our posts. This one, just getting her open off the back screen.
That's the old North Carolina slice cut right
There
there.
you go. There you go. Hey, you know your history down in Tobacco Road there. But, the other part of this, too, is just having a good quarterback, right? So Allie Sweeney's a sophomore for us, a great point guard, and recognizing that, if she knew what I was talking about her, she'd sit here and tell you, hey, I probably should have thrown it right now. I think that's, hey, coach, I'm probably a half second late on this. But again, delivering it. And I think the other part about this, we talked about the 2-point shooting percentage, is just having finishers. When you're recruiting, yes, you want to recruit shooters, but you got to be able to finish around the basket in our game. And that's something that's hard to teach. You can work on it, but I think that's something that we really do try to recruit to.
Aaron, I know that you're working on all the fundamentals, and I know you're working around finishing skills inside. And I watch so many coaches and players on the left side with their dominant right hand working on their left, work on their left, work on their left. But when it comes to the game, they go back to their right and get their shot blocked on the left side because they don't go rim body ball. They put the ball right in front of the defender to block it. Why don't they use their left hand on that side of the floor?
Yeah, and it is something too. I also tell them, hey, I really don't care as long as the ball goes in.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you have to be a creative finisher. You have to use your eyes around the basket. I think I've been told, hey, shooting is with your legs, finishing is with your eyes. And so we really talk about that. Getting contact, getting to the free throw line, but also just letting your eyes help you on the finish with that. This is the same game here, but just transition. This is one of my favorite clips of the season, just because we are getting out and going. We find the paint. So out of transition, we're trying to find paint right here. And this is great. I think if I looked at this right now, I'd say, hey, that's a shot that's got to go up. But probably my favorite part about this is watching where Allie Sweeney goes. She knows as soon as she kicks, she's going to relocate at the arc. Megan McConnell really well. She's also 90% of the time.
Yeah,
Sweeney has that shot. Megan McConnell's a smart defender. She's not going to let you have that. And so I love this possession because we just play, right? Like we're just playing. We thought we had a shot. I've often said when we're at our best, some of those clips, the opposing team could also sit there and say, we did these two things really well defensively in this clip, but yet we're still finding a way. And so Dan Burt, he could probably say some of this was really good, but then our kids just play, right?
Yeah.
This is, you're a little bit probably too far away from a shooter. And Addie Budnick knows when she's in the high post what to look for.
Yeah.
With that. This is great. We really struggled to score in this game, as you can see by the time and score here. We turned it on a little bit in the fourth quarter, but when you have two shooting bigs, you can do a lot of horn stuff. You can do a lot of flare screens out here. This is just Addie Budnick playing off their switches. So this is a late quarter. You're trying to talk to yourself. Are we supposed to hold it a little bit longer? This is just slipping a screen between two really good shooters. And Addie Budnick, we run similar things to start the fourth quarter, and she hits 2 back-to-back threes, and all of a sudden it's a tie game. An 8-0 run from Budnick, over probably about 45 seconds of game time there. So it's good to have 50ers. COVID was no fun, man. We all know COVID was no fun 5 years ago, but one of the byproducts of that was getting to coach Addie Budnick for 5 years. That's a great positive.
That's special.
With that. Another one with switches, right? So again, we're playing out of the high post right here. We're setting a stagger screen that we get switches, and Anna Camden, another, I guess 6-year player, a little bit later, but she gets the switch. We get the cut. We have a good matchup there where we can get a post up. I think Anna, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Anna talking, hey, next time I got to make sure I'm scoring in this one-on-one matchup. But then again, that same cut we talked about with Dugan earlier just freezes her just enough, and a great shooter out there, but
well, she's coming right at her.
And we've had these two where, we get the layups off of this. Or to be honest with you, a nuanced thing that Anna does is her post move isn't just going at the basket. It's still going up high enough that Dugan can make this cut and she can turn this into a post up.
Yeah, Anna could have reversed, spun back and used, right?
And
But
I think if I'm not mistaken, she talked about that, right? That she
mhm,
realized, hey, next time I have that matchup, I got to do it. But you see what
got a
happens here.
smaller player on her.
Yeah. But one of the things I love about our current player is I'm not one to like come down on their decisions, right? We are just like this
Yeah.
decision tree, but you can make the wrong decision, right? You can there's a hierarchy of hey, good, better, best, but we can play out of mistakes. There's nothing out of our system that kills the game flow, right? I mean, even this,
No,
I
I
think
mean,
she did a good
your
job.
assist turnover ratio is good. You're top 20, sometimes top 10 in assist basket.
Yeah,
Your
and
assist basket percentage is high. I mean, you kids know they just share the ball.
share the ball, and sometimes with that early in the season, Debbie, your turnover numbers are maybe a little bit higher than what you want, but you got to figure things out, right? You got to learn to play, and our
Well, you
turnover
got to get
numbers
better.
are really low. So
You got to get
yeah,
better. Aaron, when you look at the summer, put your concepts in, fitness, conditioning concepts, and the fitness and conditioning obviously is on an incline to the season, but the concepts are not. I mean, it's heavy concept in the beginning, right?
yes, definitely heavy concept in the beginning, and just teaching, right? Like it's just you have to, and even right now, like we're not running sets. We don't do a lot of 5-on-0. I mean, sometimes we do game prep, but it's just teaching simple actions, right? And so now, like I said earlier, you're stacking those actions, but you're breaking that down early, and it's a lot of 3-on-3, it's a lot of 4-on-4, and then you're stacking that together with the 5-on-5.
I say it's not just what you teach, it's what you emphasize. So obviously there's a lot of teaching, but what you emphasize, and for me, in my job, I'm not in practice every day. I can watch a lot of film and I can be ready. But when I go to the gym and I am at shoot around or practice and I see the first three things that you do, especially on game day, usually that's the indicator that these are the three most important things that we need to make sure we have because you've had so much prep time, whether it's
Yeah.
film, paperwork, day before prep. Maybe you have 2 days to prep, but all your concepts are already in. So when you go to practice and I see first three things are transition defense, not turn the ball over, and this particular matchup that we're trying to get through our concepts. That's what I'm looking for. That's how I think how the game grows. That's why practice and shoot around is so important for somebody like me.
Yep, absolutely. And that being said, I've gotten to the point that, especially late in the season, our kids know this. I don't. There's a love hate relationship with me with shoot around. But yeah, the preparation is essential.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your kids
You don't
have to.
want to let your kids down. I mean, ultimately, you do not want to let your kids down. So you're doing everything you can, and I'm doing everything. I don't want to let anybody in the game down. I don't want to just show up. I want to be ready.
Isn't that crazy? That guilt that we all have, right? Like that was me last night. It was our last game at home for our seniors, and there's a variety of reasons why that game is important, and all I'm picturing is, oh my God, what if it's my mistake that has Eddie Budnick walking off that floor? Her last game at the
Yeah.
Robins Center with the loss. It's wild how we all think like that.
It's the same for me. The margin for error as the game grows is less and less for all of us. On the sideline, your decisions that you make on my side of the floor, my sideline, the things that I see or talk about in the game, those are all critical for the growth of our game. And the skepticism and the critical eye is greater than it's ever been. And I want it. I welcome it because I want our game to advance. And that's the only way it's going to advance. If we keep doing the Pollyanna thing, it's never going to grow. It's time.
Yeah, and I wish more people would listen to you. And again, I think the game's in a great spot. But yeah, I mean, I think this is your influence. You've been a great influence for me. But obviously, just I think this. You're right. It's starting to spread a little bit
Well,
more.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for breaking it down. I always say there's no secrets. There's a tweak or a change or something that you might draw up that's a little different based on an angle or a matchup. But for you to take the time right now, this part of the season, and break it down for us, Aaron, we're incredibly grateful. So thank you for teaching us and teaching those that are following Nothing But Net a little bit more about the Richmond offense.
I appreciate it, Debbie. You guys, you're one of one. You're at the top there, and with offense, with basketball, with everything. So very grateful to you, but also from a lot of coaches out here as well. And now we're into the fun part of the season, man. This is
Yeah.
this is go time right
Yeah,
here.
let's go. I mean, we have enjoyed our partnership with the A10. We have loved following the league this year. It's been as competitive as it's ever been. And congratulations to you guys on being a one seed in the tournament. Good luck moving into March. And if people have forgotten, you guys had Duke on the ropes last year in the NCAA tournament, a game that I'm sure we're not going to talk about it because I'm not going to go there with you, but you certainly had your options and opportunity there. And I don't think I'd want to see you on my side of the bracket.
Well, I appreciate that, and looking forward to March, man. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
All right, take care and stay healthy, stay well. See you soon.
All right, thanks, Debbie. Appreciate it.